They say heroes are invincible. But what happens when a hero confronts a foe he can't outtrain, outrun, or outfight? In 2013, Hugh Jackman, the iron-willed actor behind Wolverine, received a diagnosis that changed everything: skin cancer. It wasn't the kind of villain he was used to facing, and it was a battle that would leave him marked in ways he never anticipated. But instead of hiding, Hugh chose to reveal his scars and his struggle, transforming his pain into a powerful mission. This is the story of how one of Hollywood's strongest men discovered the true meaning of resilience and became an unexpected voice in the fight for cancer prevention. Hugh Jackman had always seemed like a picture of health and vitality. Known worldwide for his intense workout routines and roles that demanded peak physical condition, he was a figure of inspiration, someone who prioritized fitness and well-being. But life has a way of testing even the strongest among us. It was during a routine day in 2013 when Hugh first noticed something unusual on his nose, a small, pale bump that hadn't been there before. At first, he brushed it off, attributing it to too much time in the sun or just a passing irritation. He was busy, with multiple projects on the go and a life packed with obligations and expectations. But this spot, this seemingly insignificant mark, would soon demand all of his attention. Reluctantly, Hugh went to see a dermatologist, a precaution he initially found almost laughable. He remembered that his father had always been cautious about these things, reminding him to take care of his skin, especially given their Australian roots and long history of outdoor exposure. But the results of the checkup were a surprise he never saw coming. "Mr. Jackman, you have basal cell carcinoma," the doctor told him gently, but with a tone of finality that Hugh felt shake him to his core. He listened as the doctor explained that basal cell carcinoma, though the most common type of skin cancer, was still serious and required immediate treatment. Hugh's world suddenly felt smaller and colder. Cancer. That word echoed in his mind. For someone who had trained his entire life to be strong, to be capable, the news shattered his image of invincibility. All at once, he became acutely aware of how fragile life really was. Hugh left the doctor's office that day in silence, lost in thought. Over the next few days, he struggled to process what this diagnosis meant for him, his career, and his family. For the first time in his life, Hugh Jackman was gripped by a fear that no amount of physical training could overcome. He thought about his wife, Deborah Lee, and their 2 children, and about how quickly life could change, how something so small could potentially shift the course of everything he had worked for. That evening, as he sat alone, Hugh found himself reflecting on the choices he'd made in life. He thought back to all the years he'd spent under the glaring sun, often without sunscreen, especially in Australia's harsh climate. He remembered beach days, surf trips, and countless hours spent outdoors during film shoots. All of it had seemed so carefree at the time, but now, with a diagnosis that could affect him for the rest of his life, he couldn't help but wonder if he had taken too much for granted. The diagnosis marked a turning point, not only in his physical health, but in his perspective on life. Cancer forced him to slow down, to evaluate his priorities, and to confront his own mortality. The constant buzz of work, fame, and routine suddenly faded into the background as he focused on the most basic human need, survival. He opened up to his family, sharing his fears and uncertainties. He could see the worry in their eyes, even though they tried to stay strong for him. His wife became his rock, offering endless support and reminding him that he was not alone in this fight. Together, they faced the new reality and began preparing for the road ahead. This was only the beginning of his battle, a journey that would redefine not just his body, but also his purpose. In the days following the diagnosis, Hugh made a promise to himself. He would face this challenge with honesty, courage, and a commitment to making others aware of the importance of prevention. The journey of recovery for Hugh Jackman was neither smooth nor easy. He faced his first surgery with quiet determination, lying on the cold table as the doctors worked to remove the cancerous cells from his nose. Despite his best efforts to remain calm, Hugh couldn't ignore the anxiety gnawing at him. Each cut of the scalpel left him feeling raw, not just physically, but emotionally too. He had always been the one in control of his body, shaping it, pushing it to its limits, but now it felt as though his own skin had betrayed him. But he wasn't prepared for what came next. Just as he began to feel hopeful after the initial surgery, another small lesion appeared. The cancer had returned. It was a blow that he hadn't expected and one that shook him deeply. Every recurrence brought another round of surgeries, each leaving a new scar. Hugh soon realized that this wasn't a one-time battle. It was a chronic, recurring condition that would require his ongoing vigilance. The once strong and fearless actor was now in an unending struggle with his own body, each surgery marking another skirmish in the war against his cancer. There were days when the physical toll felt overwhelming, the bandages on his face reminding him constantly of his vulnerability. The relentless cycle of surgeries, healing, and fresh lesions felt almost impossible to endure. Yet, it wasn't just the physical pain that tested him. It was the psychological burden. The fear of another recurrence, of more surgeries, and of a future where cancer might shadow him for the rest of his life weighed heavily. Hugh, who had portrayed superheroes on screen, found himself grappling with feelings of weakness and doubt. But every time he looked in the mirror, the scars reminded him of his reason to fight, for his family, for his fans, and for himself. During these dark days, Hugh drew strength from his family. His wife, Deborah Lee, was his constant support, encouraging him on the days when he felt drained and defeated. They both worked to create a sense of normalcy for their children, determined to show them that, no matter how daunting life's challenges, courage and resilience could prevail. Hugh shared his struggles with his children, hoping to teach them the value of self-care and the importance of vigilance when it came to their health. His family's unwavering presence reminded him that he was not fighting this alone. They were all in it together. The journey was far from easy, but with each step, Hugh began to experience a shift in his perspective. He was learning to accept his scars, to see them not as marks of weakness, but as symbols of resilience. This acceptance brought him a sense of peace he hadn't felt before. He stopped worrying about his physical appearance and began to embrace the reality of his condition, viewing each scar as a reminder of his fight and his survival. Hugh's journey also brought him a new purpose. He realized that his battle wasn't just about survival. It was about using his experience to inspire others. He started talking openly about his diagnosis and treatments, sharing his story on social media and in interviews. With each post, he urged his fans to protect themselves, to wear sunscreen, and to get regular checkups. His openness about his battle made him not only an advocate, but a beacon of hope for others going through similar struggles. Through the pain, the surgeries, and the fear, Hugh was transforming. He was no longer just an actor or a public figure. He had become a voice for prevention, a symbol of resilience, and an example of the power of vulnerability. His journey was far from over, but he had found a purpose that gave him strength, a purpose that made every scar worth it. As Hugh Jackman continued to confront his diagnosis, he realized that his journey went beyond his own recovery. What he was facing wasn't unique. Thousands silently battled skin cancer every day. Hugh had always believed that fame came with a responsibility, but now, that sense of duty took on a profound new meaning. If his story could save even one life, he knew he had to share it. Driven by this purpose, Hugh began speaking openly about his experience. He posted updates on his social media accounts, showing the scars from his surgeries and explaining why he kept going back for regular checkups. "Don't be like me," he warned his followers with unfiltered honesty. "Get checked. Use sunscreen." His posts resonated with millions, giving people a rare glimpse into his vulnerability. With each message, he broke down the stigma and fear surrounding skin cancer, reminding people that vigilance and awareness could be the difference between life and death. His transparency about his journey made him a voice for prevention, and fans responded. People worldwide began scheduling skin exams, sharing their own experiences with melanoma and other types of skin cancer, and joining Hugh's call for better sun protection. He became a symbol of resilience, showing that even heroes can be brought down by life's challenges, but true courage lies in facing them head-on and helping others along the way. But it wasn't just about inspiring fans. Hugh's advocacy reached new levels. He began partnering with dermatologists and cancer prevention organizations, lending his voice to campaigns that emphasized the importance of sun safety. He even worked with health initiatives to make skin screenings more accessible, particularly in countries where high UV exposure made skin cancer a common risk. His mission was clear: to prevent as many people as possible from going through the same ordeal he had. Every time he shared his story, Hugh felt the weight of his scars lessen. They had become a part of him, not marks of fear, but badges of resilience. With his newfound purpose, Hugh grew into a role he hadn't expected. It wasn't about fame or accolades. It was about something deeper and more lasting. Through his journey, he had found a calling that went beyond acting, a role that would endure long after the camera stopped rolling. Hugh's transformation was profound. What had once been a painful battle for survival turned into a legacy of hope and prevention. Every scar, every surgery, every vulnerable post was now a symbol of the difference he was making in the world. He continued to live his life fully, embracing every moment with a renewed appreciation for health, family, and purpose. And as he stood in front of crowds or posted another reminder to wear sunscreen, he knew that his journey had come full circle. He had transformed not only himself but also the lives of countless others, leaving behind a legacy of courage, compassion, and the unwavering power of prevention.